What if the very pain of your birth shaped the philosophy that would change the world forever? Same has happened to a political intellectual known as Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Stay with us to discover about his piteous life, his political developments, achievements, and his death. Early childhood. Born on June 28, 1712, in the Republic of Geneva, Jean-Jacques Rousseau entered a world that would immediately deal him tragedy. His mother, Suzanne Bernard, died just 9 days after giving birth to him, a loss that would cast a long shadow over his entire life. His father, Isaac Rousseau, a watchmaker and passionate reader, raised young Jean-Jacques alone. Together, they would stay up late into the night, reading novels and books of history. It was here, in those quiet Geneva rooms, that Rousseau's deep love for ideas was first ignited. But this fragile peace didn't last. When Rousseau was just 10 years old, his father fled Geneva after a dispute, leaving Jean-Jacques effectively orphaned and alone. Hardship and wandering. Rousseau was placed under the care of his uncle, then sent to live with a Protestant minister in the countryside. At 13, he was apprenticed to a notary, then to an engraver, a man who treated him harshly and pushed young Rousseau toward rebellion. By the age of 16, Rousseau had had enough. He walked out of Geneva and never truly returned, beginning a life of wandering, self-education, and restless searching that would define his genius. Turning point. It was in Savoy, France, that Rousseau met the woman who would change everything, Madame de Warens, a kind and intellectual noblewoman who took him in, educated him, and gave him the stability he had never known. Under her roof, Rousseau read voraciously, thought deeply, and began to become himself. From a motherless child in Geneva to a wandering apprentice on the roads of Europe, the early life of Rousseau was not a story of privilege. It was a story of survival, curiosity, and an unbreakable hunger for truth. And this was only the beginning. Development of his political ideas. What if one single moment of inspiration gave birth to ideas that would topple kings and ignite revolutions? By the time Rousseau reached his late 30s, he was still an outsider, restless, self-taught, and searching. But in 1749, everything changed. Walking along a road to Vincennes, he stopped to read a newspaper and stumbled upon a question that detonated inside his mind. The illumination. The Academy of Dijon was asking, has the progress of sciences and arts corrupted or purified morals? Rousseau later described what happened next as a sudden illumination, a flood of ideas so overwhelming he had to sit beneath a tree to collect himself. His answer would become his first major political work, the Discourse on the Sciences and Arts, and it shocked the intellectual world. His argument was bold and controversial. Civilization was not progress, it was corruption. Core political ideas. Rousseau began developing ideas that were radical for his time. In his Discourse on Inequality, he argued that private property and social hierarchy were the roots of all human suffering, that mankind was born free, but everywhere lived in chains. Then came his masterpiece, The Social Contract in 1762, opening with one of the most famous lines in political history. Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Rousseau argued that legitimate political authority could only come from the will of the people, not kings, not the church, not inherited power. He called this the general will, the idea that true law must reflect what is best for society as a whole. Rousseau began with a truth that cut like a knife. Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. But how did this happen? Rousseau argued that as humans moved from their natural state into organized society, they surrendered their individual freedom to rulers who gave nothing meaningful in return. This, he said, was not law. It was slavery dressed as order. True political authority, Rousseau insisted, could only be legitimate if it was based on a mutual agreement, a contract, between the government and the governed. Not force, not tradition, not divine right, but consent.
The general will. At the heart of the social contract was Rousseau's most powerful concept, the general will. The general will was not simply what the majority wanted, it was something deeper, what was genuinely best for all of society as a whole. Rousseau believed that when people came together as a community and set aside personal greed and self-interest, they could collectively identify what was truly just and right. In this system, citizens were not subjects obeying a king. They were both the makers and the followers of the law, free because they governed themselves.
Legacy and impact. The ideas in the social contract did not stay on paper for long. They traveled across Europe and across oceans. The American founding fathers read Rousseau. The rebels of the French Revolution carried his words like weapons. The concepts of popular sovereignty, democratic governance, and the rights of citizens all trace a direct line back to this one revolutionary book. The social contract was never just a book. It was a mirror, held up to power, asking the question every generation must answer for itself. Who gave you the right to rule? Next, we explore Rousseau's ideas on education and natural human freedom. His books. Rousseau was one of the most prolific and explosive writers of the 18th century. Each book he wrote did not merely contribute to intellectual debate, it detonated inside society. His first major work, The Discourse on the Sciences and Arts in 1750, boldly challenged the Enlightenment's blind faith in progress, arguing that knowledge and civilization had made human beings not better, but morally weaker. In 1755, his Discourse on Equality went even further, tracing the origins of human suffering directly to private property and social hierarchy. It was a work so radical, it reads almost revolutionary even today. Then in 1761 came Julie, or The New Heloise, a sweeping romantic novel that became one of the best-selling books of the entire century. It made ordinary readers weep across Europe and proved Rousseau was not just a thinker, he was a storyteller of rare emotional power. The Social Contract followed in 1762, his political masterpiece, and in the same year came Emile, or On Education, a groundbreaking work arguing that children were not small adults to be disciplined, but natural beings to be gently guided. It revolutionized how the Western world thought about childhood and learning. His final great work, Confessions, was unlike anything written before it. Completed near the end of his life, it was a raw, honest, deeply personal autobiography, the first of its kind in modern literature. Rousseau hid nothing. He exposed his failures, his shame, his contradictions, and in doing so, invented a new form of writing that writers still follow today. His final years. By the end of his life, Rousseau was a hunted and haunted man. His books had been burned. He had been exiled from France, from Geneva, from Prussia. Paranoia consumed him. He believed the entire intellectual world, even his former friend Voltaire, had conspired against him. He spent his final years in quiet poverty on the estate of the Marquis de Girardin in Ermenville, France, walking, botanicizing, and writing, finding peace only in nature, the one force he had always trusted above all others. His death. On July 2, 1778, Jean-Jacques Rousseau died at Ermenonville. He was 66 years old. The cause remains debated to this day. Some say a stroke, others have suggested darker possibilities. He died quietly, far from the great cities his ideas had shaken to their foundations. He died in obscurity, but within 11 years, the French Revolution had begun, and his words were everywhere. In 1794, the French Republic moved his remains to the Pantheon in Paris, the sacred resting place of France's greatest souls. The man the world rejected in life, it enshrined in death. Like, share the video, and subscribe this channel for more amazing upcoming updates. Oyster International.